Red Bull's cost cap breach. Red Bull could be set to receive a devastating penalty that could potentially change the results of last season's championships, and in this video we'll take a look at why. Last season saw the FIA, who are the governing body of the Formula One World Championship, introduce a budget cap, which is the maximum amount that each team can spend each season, into F1. This is designed to make the grid more competitive and sustainable by rewarding the teams who are the most efficient with the limited funds, and ensuring that all the teams have a long-term future in the sport by making sure that they do not overspend in the hunt for short-term success and become financially unstable. In previous seasons, there were big gulfs between the spending levels of the bigger teams and those lower down the grid, such as between Red Bull and Williams. F1 is far from a spec series, meaning that effective spending can bring great performance improvements. In 2021, which was the budget cap's debut season, the maximum spending level was set at $145 million. This was the amount allowed to be spent on the car's performance, and did not cover the amount that the teams could spend on driver and executive salaries, as well as on employee bonuses and property costs. This means that the bigger teams can still spend more than the smaller teams, but the money that they each have to spend on improving their car is equal, theoretically allowing the best operating team to have an advantage, rather than the one with the biggest bank account. The cap amount has been reduced by $5 million this season, making it even harder to stay within the rules. But it has been revealed that two of the teams broke some of the rules last season, when the cap was set at a higher amount. Following the Japanese Grand Prix, which saw Max Verstappen secure his second world championship, it was announced that his team had committed a procedural breach and minor financial overspend of the 2021 budget cap. The fact that it was classed as a minor overspend means that it was an overspend of less than 5% of the total cap. The FIA are currently deciding on an appropriate punishment for the overspending, and they will be setting a precedent. But there is already an example of a punishment given for a procedural breach, as Williams were found guilty of one over the summer. The team were given a $25,000 fine, which is very minor for an F1 team. Therefore, Red Bull should not be scared of the punishment for the procedural breach, but they should be fearful about the FIA's impending decision on their punishment for overspending. The FIA have the right to choose from either a public reprimand, deduction of drivers' and constructors' championship points, suspension from a stage that's not a race, or a limit on aerodynamic or other testing. Some of these punishments could change the results of last season's championship, and Red Bull can only avoid a financial or minor sporting penalty if they're able to prove that there were major mitigating factors that kept them from being able to stick to the clearly defined limit. The other team who breached the 2021 financial regulations were Aston Martin, who committed a procedural breach, but did not overspend. It has been rumored that Red Bull's overspend was just under $2 million, which could have given the team a sizable advantage over their rivals, such as Mercedes, who are battling with Red Bull to try and secure a record-breaking 8th Drivers' Championship title for Lewis Hamilton. Various sources have also reported that Red Bull were initially $4 million under the cap, but a variety of fluid factors pushed them over it. One factor that led to the overspending was the spending that they had to do to make up for those taking time off, in the form of sick pay or gardening leave. These costs to make up for lack of labor accounted for almost $1 million, which is less than the $1.2 million bill that Red Bull racked up on their catering costs throughout the year. Another factor that contributed to Red Bull's overspending involved the classification of spare parts that could not be used on this year's car, which changed throughout the year and seemingly caught Red Bull out. Another factor that caught Red Bull out was their tax situation, with the team feeling that they were due to receive a tax rebate from the government totaling almost $1.5 million, as they're involved in research and development work. Red Bull were set to host a press conference about the situation ahead of the United States Grand Prix, but they then canceled this event as the FIA wanted to speak to the team. They previously released a statement following the announcement of the breach, stating that they met the findings with surprise and disappointment. They stated that they believe that their submission was below the cost cap limit and that they will need to carefully review the FIA's findings, as they believe that they're innocent. They have kept fairly quiet since, but others in the paddock from other teams have had their say. McLaren CEO Zak Brown wrote a letter to the FIA, stating that the overspending and procedural breach constitute cheating by offering a significant advantage across technical, sporting, and financial regulations, and that any team who has overspent has gained an unfair advantage, both in the current and following year's car development. He feels that there clearly needs to be a sporting penalty. Lewis Hamilton also agrees that there needs to be a big punishment, as he has stated that if the FIA are relaxed with these rules, all the teams will just go over. The 7-time world champion feels that the future of the budget cap's effectiveness relies on the FIA's decision, which will be announced in the near future. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss an upload, and please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Also, leave a comment letting us know what you think an appropriate punishment would be.